Some Sanje Tan, Jejimo, or a second good jump to Chada, but in Tani Pangala, the Chapin, Torchma, Mepala, also to Pachin, for a bit of Japsu, Shimbia, English has on Tamil, and Tankas and Beto, but make it to the Japan on Japon Chape, Tong, Remaka, Chape, train, Dali, Soro, Oriental, Emission, Yavinam, Sense of Pigi on that Songarva, Peman Juni, Dali, Bento, Java Gunjur, and Diet, Kanda Milika, Bijis on Tanyan Tarzembe, Kisum Lama Namla, Puchat, Vanjur Kadam Lam Data, Mashanka, Juror. Urgent of some Tixoso, producing Tanam, Dublin Gems, years ago, to fit down. Then from maybe send your Cochati and Jimmy Chenzo, the La Cochata. Miro doesn't go on a chula, Joe, Kanjis and Jora, Yelablanim and Daratan, again, the gun of regiment passengers, so when you put on fire, Kanjer and Nepal, Abduka, Panzambaka. The Adam yet about Tambe Gojo to be Sunyan and the Sheshe, Kanga Shuchong, Gibana, the Shikmuch. And little bit you did Chamber of Years, and Barandova comes in the Shikshis. Oh, that's okay. Any Manhattan, the Sanjay Tambe. And it does handy for one for chat, the Chedatam. And we choose someone, then you said that Surian the Yamson and Jigu Yam Samba and keep the Tokyo but set up December shows.
For the sake of all sentient beings as vast in number as the sky is vast, to be led to the level of complete enlightenment, the stage of Buddhahood, with that as your purpose in mind, with that as your intention, listen to these teachings, receive these teachings of the profound Dharma, and having received them, put them perfectly into practice. So if this is your intention, please listen to these teachings.
Mongoni Mazon, and it has Sadikani, Yonzo Travala Chipta, longer the Trabijutik, and it songs in the Chubani on the Gemanaba, and it Chimba, Harbatamia, that you Yondrag and arrange it at each other, songs in the.
So today, what will be the topic for our teachings? So in the snowy lands of Tibet, from the age of the Bunpos up till now, the renowned in all areas, all regions, all peoples, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, and worldly practices and Dharmic practices, the practice of offering song will be our topic. All, yeah. So all yeah. So all traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, Sakya Gelug, Nyingma, the other one, Kagyu, as well as the non-Buddhist traditions, the Bun and so forth, renowned and practiced by them all. So these days, instructions, commentaries on this practice proliferate. There are many various different commentaries you can find regarding this practice. Just a cursory look through the internet, you can find all sorts of instructions, guidance on this practice. Find teachings by monks, by Tibetan monks offering teachings, commentary. Not just the Tibetans are teaching on this, but you can also find all sorts of yellow hairs teaching on this too, the Westerners. There are many different commentaries and instructions to be found these days.
다 로저 가셋 가르자고 뒀어요. 다 가시에서는 어떻게 낭바라든데 싸는 요마한테 공부는 종발했어. 뭐다 공부하는 말 종을 공부는 종을 공부 때 드니 낭바에서 섭지 드니 되라. 네 배매 범위 드니 지는 에스 테테데 땅기니 파트네스. 저조래 원에 드는 거라도 공부를 해서 지금 되게 잡아뒀어.
Often today regarding the history of the practice of song. It's often said to not be originally a Buddhist practice at all, but having been taken from the Bun tradition, the millennia-old song practice of the Bun that was kind of taken and mixed in with the Buddhist teachings, and adapting and adopting the old Bun practice, then that is the real history of the practice of song. So that's often said.
네 하면 범벅이 좋은 아주 마마텔라 양 제나게 좋네요 되게 좋을까 뭐가 됐지네요 가지라고 했으면 다 산지게 상게 좋았으면 산지 짠이 소요 말이야 라ම්초 드렌초 젠초에서 거기 때문에
라제
라초바 레초 젠초 젠네 다 젠다고 제야 산지 소요 짠이 요 말이야 그래서 거기 라마트에서 요래 정보에서는 종교에서는요 맞으그냥 되게 좋네 야던지 대상 되네로서 되게 마부 시에도 양 끝이 같아서 또 세도 되네 우만은 앞에 상요 말에 산데 쳐요 말에 원발요 말에 세말요 말에 용가병아요 말에 낭발요 말에 이렇게 되네요 나고스.
So often the Bun are saying that, holding to that a song came straight from the Bun. It's a Bun practice. Also, there's it's often said that song is not a Buddhist practice at all whatsoever. The Buddha himself never taught song. In the original Buddhist teachings, there's no mention of song. There's no mention of song, and there's no discussion or instruction on offering practices to the gods and spirits and demons, the Vladre and Senmo, and so forth. That song and such practices, these types of offerings to the gods and spirits and demons and various different spirits, are Tibetan creations. Tibetan creations and practices borrowed from the non-Buddhist Bun tradition. So many people say this, and they say that there's no mention of such practices in the sacred scriptures themselves. Show me where it talks about these types of offerings, song offerings to the gods and spirits in Madhyamaka teachings. Can't find it in Madhyamaka, Abhidharma, or teachings on valid cognition. It's just not there.
알았어. 근데선가 때문에 다다가 저게 아니 상게 때문에 돈데 맞지 문이 가려져도 그냥 아지에 땅 거야 땅디 시고야다 시고야다 개체 못이라래도 말한 저거 로공하는 거지니 말을 되게 지게 쳐다고 요래 딱 문이 그 맞수 그지 아니 가려져도 돼 맞아 시고야다 개체 못이라도
So because of all that, there's various different understandings of the origins of song. We really need to understand what the true meaning of song practice is, what's really behind the practice. We need to investigate this, analyze this for ourselves. It's crucially important to have a clear understanding of what the real meaning of song is. This practice that's been around for thousands of years now. What really is it for, and what's the meaning behind it?
그래서 다 원본이 원본 뭐나 원본 마들 갖고 나서 종류 같아요. 내 말했어. 로지 돈에다 거기서 막 그렇게 잡고 다 냐치 쩨보 대수가 깝니
냐치 쩨보 야보기
야보상고
냐치 쩨보
냐치 쩨보다 다 여기 야보상고래 대수가 깝니 하람 로줄을 따드 되니 쌍마제 에너지 다 들게 되는 거라서 애니 다 야보고 되나 얘는 쌍도 가서 다 제가서 걸어 다 가다 쪼과다 지마다 다 된듯이 다 버리지야 된듯이 그 당아서 다 피지 세나다 거바다 오지야 된듯이 용어요래 얘네 다다가 버도 빼는 거라서 라마 파요 bombo 팝나 된 치로로 가다 가서 쌍땅 당금도 이나야 매땅 쌍땅 되는 가서 타가라 땅 되니 너라야 쌍코로 대해서 로직 톤에 대 연정부 톤에 여조래
So look at the true history of this practice of Sam. Really, it predates Bun, the Bun traditions of Tibet. We look at the histories of the very beginning of human culture in Tibet, the first king of Tibet, Nyachi Tsenpa. We look at the histories of him, the first king of Tibet, Nyachi Tsenpa. We see that this practice of Sang was existed back then. This practice of offering, making smoke offerings, making fire offerings in front of the king to cleanse his path.
It's not offering, just, for example, if someone is coming, guest, we just make it same.
창조야.
지만 신부 당무도.
지만 신부제야, 지만 그냥 받는 선바야. 고속들 미요리 거래 가르쳐서 트랩도 쭉 내가 그래서. 근데 내가 쳐봤으니 내가 오프라인에서 그냥 이런 스피킹만.
이거 뭐는 냐트제 뭐냐 누가 자가라이네 버리네.
근데 다다 가서 인디아 아메리카에서 누가 말 찍고 할 거죠. 요즘 토니 코로나도 된다고. 이 값도
So not necessarily as an offering, but just the practice of making smoke, making fire to cleanse the way, or to cleanse obscurations, negativities. It's a practice that predates Bun, predates Buddhism in Tibet, goes back to the first king of Tibet, and also we find these histories all over India, this practice of offering or making smoke to cleanse an area, to purify the space. So also this same practice we can see has continued up to the present day, where when Lama is arriving before him, there's smoke made to clean the area, fire made to clean the space, and so forth.
디니 다다가 빠져가 그때 concept에서 나라에 제가 빼는 미지 트랜스레오나 고사르바지 다 고로지 파스이나 다양 상마지야 빼는 라고르지 다 라마 자와도레오나 근데 도로도서 그가 강발라야 기 상마지 도로서 얘네 말은 저거 가르사요 얘네 매상 매게 되는 거 슈바들 도로든데 다스 그래서 내가 도로다 다 가리는 거지. 잘하나. 그냥 가서 양 초장아 들이다 초돌이야. 그래봐. 양 계속 같이 모징에서 치료로 거는 놓는 도서 상상다. 근데 양 까름색, 매름, 추름, 까름색. 가상 추름, 가상이었어 그래. 가상, 가서 매상, 농상세, 다 농상세는 놓는 자체다. 얘네 가상세도 다 깔맞던데 막 통사도 콜래. 얘네 치료가 깔맞고 나는 벌써 맞지 콜래.
명상을 깔맞.
뭐야? 근데 다 장마 차서 뭐라고 찍어요. 근데 지도 다 상승인데 초진에 너에게 값더니 맞아 쌍마지야 지금 고등시 모여래. 근데 변하다 쌍마지야 고등시. 소과돼서 매도야. 소과돼서 요 다 지나는 데려와. 베라탐 용한 매장 롱당 큐소 그랬더니 쌍마지로 어떻게 고든 지쳐모요.
So these days in villages, this you make these song preparations, smoke preparations to cleanse everything. Some visitors, some lamas coming to town, you make these preparations to cleanse the space, to cleanse them, cleanse the area. You have new clothes, you make these song preparations to cleanse the clothes. It's used as a cleansing agent for everything. And there's, so we use smoke, and then there are various different sub-song practices that are used as a general cleansing ceremony or cleansing practice. The car song, the star song practice, where you go out under the stars to cleanse the...
That's not a practice actually, just tradition we just do. We just, for example, we have a new clothes, just we wave, go outside and wave, so then star might, it's there. We have a belief that, you know, star will purify. If we have a new clothes and we just wave, we burn an incense and then wave it, and then so it's purified. Just purify here, not some practice here.
Yeah.
Just talking purified.
Okay. So fire song, use the element of fire to cleanse whatever it is. You have lung song, using the element of wind to cleanse whatever it is you need to have cleansed. So these practices of using song, and particular using the elements as cleansing agents, really predate or have been practiced traditionally forever. Using the elements to cleanse whatever obstructions, contaminants there may be. So really this is one understanding that relates to our current teachings on song practice that we should understand. The relation of the primordial practice of using the elements as cleansing agents. The main point here being that song and using the elements as cleansing agents to cleanse whatever dirtiness, contaminant. So in the olden days, your clothes, you couldn't wash them regularly. You didn't have soap to wash your clothes or something. Your clothes were dried out by leaving them out in the sun. The sun would dry them out. The wind would, leaving your clothes out, the wind would cleanse them, dry them out. You leave them under the stars would clean your clothes and so forth. Namely, the elements in nature itself would act in this way. And by doing that, leaving your clothes in that way, elements would cleanse them, dry them out, then they would naturally lose their bad smell and be cleansed. So based on history, looking directly at the history, we can establish the validity of song. So looking at the history, we'll see that it's a tradition that's been there for an extremely long time. But those individuals that say it's not a Buddhist tradition because it can't be found in the sacred texts, show me where it talks about song in Madhyamaka, Abhidharma, the texts of valid cognition, pramana. Well, yes, okay, it's not in those texts, but those texts and those bodies of literature relate to establishing the view, relate to establishing and understanding the view. There's no need for song to be addressed in those such texts. But if you look in the ritual texts, the ritual scriptures of the Buddha, then you'll find them. Of course they're not in Madhyamaka texts, Abhidharma texts, but in the Kangyur and the Tengyur there are various different bodies of literature, different types of texts. The Dharani texts, various different rituals discussed within these texts. And in those texts you'll find these. But the people that say there's no song addressed in any of the original Buddhist literature, they just didn't think to look there.
Inaya ta Riwo Sangcho te ngaso pyo sang yong chimbo resena mare sang ta ngaso dia chimbo yobina ngi chashiji mixer ke ta sang ge ngaran zo te yorwa sang ge tendegi nani ta ji ngaran zo chi nang sang wan rawan ta de zo pache zo chen ji ko le bia jo rawo te ne de hanan mingcho ji ko le ma do te zang ji te ne chapa yo na 다 상그 추가 지바로부터 가르래서는 다 상양행 생애들.
Gyangin.
야 상양행. 양행은 그래서.
Gift of
Gift of option, torments and all these things too.
상양행 다 생애. 근데 다เป็น상그 추가 지바. 그래서 다 간설 아니 말한 저거 거를 못 치게 다 정말 벽이다 때마 담보 때에 하는 상에 다리서는 득사래 벽을 하래 탐지 얘네 말한제 다음날 다 삼이 쪼락한 이제야 얘네 되게 다 빼다 하나를 상 땅바탕 때네 땅라 붙이다 상의 주관제 받다 같이 상게 되는 아주 로주 슈키히 된 아주 다 벽이 나타내 용어래 이나양 다 근데 sonda 트레이닝 상 기단 걸더니 마마치 시에트바체 니 거든 상화야고 요리도 다 달로 자고 호스는 요르제 에 조조를 해야 돼. 그때 주저기도 기능되는 아주 되게 늘 많이 이해하고야. 근데 아주 이상 기단 같더니 다 치다. 다 기단 치게 된 아주 하고 뭐야고도 가지고도 치다 나는데 다이 상화야 상을 잘나 근데 다 말하면서 마음이 얼마다 내 하고도 그래서 가서 참았는데 배제다는데야 내 하고도 와. 내가 가서 나 통화만 냠내 받아서 다 받는 냠내 제대로 그랬다. 내가 가서 받쳤어야. 얘네 때문에 지금 와서 소남 사야. 근데 통화는 가서 참 받아서야. 얘네 다 니마 사과도 거저 드리스 제지는 가서 지어요.
So our teachings will be primarily based, or in large part based, on this text that you've all received, this text by the great master, Gyaltse Shenpa Tai, which primarily is focused on the practice of Riwo Sangchod. So the practice of Riwo Sangchod, although extremely popular today, really in Tibet, as a song practice, is not the most elaborate or like all-inclusive practice of song. Really, it's just one single like subdivision, sub-practice within the vast context of song practice. So within song, we have various different divisions and practices that fall under this rubric of song. innermost secret practices. And really this practice of Riwo Sangchod just falls within this category of relates to Dzogchen and really is just within the Nyingma context. But song itself, there are other practices, other contexts of song that are more elaborate, more extensive. In particular, the practice of Gyaknyen, as we could maybe say the most elaborate practice of song within Tibet today. Gyaknyen meaning gift,
honoring with the reward.
Honoring with reward, or offer.
Yeah.
Honoring with making rewards or gifts. Ngen literally like a gift, a present. So honoring or paying reverence with gifts. Literally, Gyaknyen. A very extensive practice that has many different divisions of offerings that are engaged in within it, all within this rubric of song. So, and this practice, this kind of system of song, this whole elaborate system of song, really we can say dates back to Guru Rinpoche. And this particular system, the way we understand song today, we can say comes from Guru Rinpoche, that he was the first to bring these practices into Tibet. Bring them into Tibet in his efforts to tame the spirits and gods and various deities, and as purification practices, offering practices, during the process of establishing Samye Chimpu and so forth. So most of that, or a lot of that, is not discussed directly in our current text. So our current text we were lucky enough to find through the efforts of a
specific text that Guru Rinpoche taught about the song Gyaknyen. Yeah, that was.
Lotsawa House of the Yomari.
The Gyaknyen singing have makes the Guru Rinpoche Sunjiro.
Yeah. Yeah. So the system of Gyaknyen and song as we have it today dates back to Guru Rinpoche. Yeah. The most elaborate, vast text and ritual practice of song today, this Gyaknyen, dates back to Guru Rinpoche. Was introduced by Guru Rinpoche. So our text today from lovely people at Lotsawa House, freely available, have translated this. So since we had this available, then we are using this. And so today what we're going to be focusing on is like a more general, universal teaching on song, like the whole song practice, that relates to, and we can connect to, the innermost secret level of song as it relates to Riwo Sangcho. But we're really going to be focusing on song in its more general context, universal context, which, and these days practitioners are, for practitioners in particular, the practice of song is extremely beneficial and engaged in extensively. It's very good for clearing away any obstacles that can be arising, a unique means for amassing merit. For practitioners in retreat, it's often engaged in daily.
내고 치도가 값어 되니 갑자기 남관징에 다 상황을 되니 자마로 그 자니 근데 다 나서 정말 버렸어 다디 로그 선도나 가르레세나 다니 고치가 봐 대신 땅가란 쪽 되니 기타 가란 쪽 상그서 다 로죽이나 많이 왔다 리선스 상 예바데서 제도 가서 다 르토슈는 줘 근데 뭔가 탐지 첩투야 뭔가 탐지 통특사 다 들려고 되는 돈들 리선스가 와 이나야 기타는 리다 니그 고치지 네 탐지 신경을 받아 니서긴 잡아서가 네 로상처서 다 납주는 가지 그래서 다 디니 존데 근데 다가 제종가 다다 추제를 당하더니 제종가 다다다 가란 쪽에 니 다다다 제종가 네만 보도 와다 뜻을 가지더니 무엇도 지 얘네 다 투명이지가 얘네 배저가 미고 레스티아지 정도가 오다 대체지 난 리비 상대다 당고 중요한 로지도 되네 그래서가 그냥 리워 상초 생에 얘네 뭐만 찾기 그래 무시트는 로를 이제 말했더니 가버지 당 괜찮아서 어쨌든 좋아해서 괜찮아보는데서 난 리워 상초에서 매일 따야 되나 just listen. That really Riwo Sangcho that you mean as a trahi chamber go gele kujon ramara. You want Tana that the Riwo Sangcho in the Karasang of the there is not been a did watching as a song of Riwo Sangcho in the Karas. That the new Hinjara. That they are around it. Ni bought on Gucci. The name New York Sotan came out to Shin Pep. The name Rangjong So. 좀 레바만 거래. 마체비 소고디 가르에서 마음바로 비열직 차거라. 마음바더니 보여서 다 가서 야나 사지들이 용의 방법을 못 되나. 타마 보여도 자이 오던 로스. 얘도 가발을 타마. 얘도 가발을 dro고 그래서. 근데 중 같은 비니들. 비니 있어. 그래서 비니 빼먹고 비열은 제모중 배열 요모 하나
유모
배열
요모
요모 배드니
얘네 배열을 되는 말은 저 가르사 캠바 중사 다 된다고 배열 가지 때 이래서 시즌이 다 뭐봐 맞았더니 사자 되니 말 로나 다또 대 하는 때 인사래 좀 뭐봐가 남대 인사래 그래 봐다 들으스 시즌에 니 배열 쓰는 때요 다티 비율 권제 진행이 다 뺏겼어요. 어떤 대중 비율 권제 진행이 남아 예측했더니 다 리워 상초 중세에 다 리워 상초를 했대서
starting with our text. This text focuses on the Riwo Sangcho practice of song. So Riwo Sangcho, the mountain smoke offering practice. So Riwo, the mountain practice. So this particular practice of Riwo Sangcho dates back to the Tertön Latsunanka Jigme, who, when opening the site of the gathering of the 4 Rigsins in the Holy Land of Sikkim, opening the sacred site of Sikkim during that process, received this practice in a state of pure vision. Where in a state of pure vision, the sound of his Dharmaru, from the sound of his Dharmaru, he received this practice. Riwo Sangcho appeared as a pure vision Terma practice in relation to opening this the sacred site of Sikkim. So in many of the histories of song practice, it talks about the power of going to very high points, high places to perform the practice of song, going to the tops, pinnacles, of peaks of mountains, performing song to like pervade all the lower lands around, all the valleys around. By going up to the highest point, then everything below is affected by the practice. So for Latsunanka Jigme, receiving this practice of Riwo Sangcho, the power of this practice, engaged high up in the mountains, opened up the entirety of the sacred land, the sacred sites of Sikkim. Sikkim, which has many different sacred areas, sacred lakes, sacred caves, sacred mountains, all of them being pervaded by this practice of Riwo Sangcho. So it was used as the means to facilitate the opening up of the hidden sacred land of Sikkim. So some time ago, Dungse Tinle Nobu was talking with Rinpoche about the practice of Riwo Sangcho, saying, what a strange name for a practice. Riwo Sangcho. Why do we call it Riwo Sangcho? We have all these other great names for things. Tashi Charbep, like the reign of auspiciousness and so forth. What's Riwo Sangcho, the mountain smoke offering? It's strange. Really, the meaning behind it is this relating to the practice of song. It's Goche Lamtun Tongpa Cha.
Integration of sacred site, hidden land was happening. So then this you have to show the road map, where to go to the sacred sites. Then they had their settlements, retreat lands, and all these things. So that's
so Riwo Sangcho, primarily, or its main function, descended as a practice to bless the opening of this sacred land. Bless the opening of the sacred land as a means to show the path to the land, show the path to the open site, show the path to the various sites, the various pilgrimage sites within the sacred land. So also relating to this, Guru Rinpoche bestowed prophecy regarding the opening of sacred lands, the secret lands of India, saying that in the future the teachings of the Tibetan Buddha Dharma will return back into India, into these secret hidden lands. The secret lands of Sikkim being one. Sikkim, Pimlico, Yolmo, Kempa Jung, the primary ones. Relating these prophecies,
not only India, it's Nepal,
Girkala. So in India and the other southern regions, the teachings will exit out of Tibet and into these sacred lands that are to be open.
So those Rinpoche once upon a time made a call to Rinpoche and asked why this, why this Riwo Sangcho's name given a strange name, mountain sound osmo offering like that. There are plenty of good names to be given, and Rinpoche responded, might be because it was named like that. It was because Hatsunamka Jingme it used this song as to bless the sacred side of the Sikkim, so that's why. So when we talk about the sacred side of Sikkim, it was all in the mountains, so it was like blessing the mountains. So that's why it was here. He might have named like that. So those people say, oh, that might be true. Yeah, he agrees with that.
This year the book and the Karashego Chowers. One has a something in the conquerors. That the Riwo Sangchod is a Chahijiro. Then that is on the one. And a Cheriton song is Conde, Northern, Gutendiganana. Your Maris and Shanghai Kajia, your essay. Young Yandaki, Bernard Dangarancher, any Sanje Jomde, the Jen to Castle, in a Tokala to Buta, Doriata. 얘네 라도 부고 포마토가 대담지 상거든 좀 홍인선에 시행을 요래서 다들 제시입니다. 다들 상게 되니 대콩 지시.
So Riwo Sangchod, again, is a single section or sub-practice of the broader class of song practices, song offering practices. So beginning our text here, Gyaltse Shenpen Taye is addressing the origins, where he says, some these days say that there is no mention of song in the sutras or tantras. That's not a Buddhist practice. Then he continues and says, but others mention the song offering, or what we could consider song, the practice of, or the tradition of preparing incense or smoke as a means to, or in relation to invite the Buddha. When the Buddha Shakyamuni would be invited somewhere, you would make light incense, light smoke. You would hold the, go to your rooftop and make these smoke preparations, hold up the incense offering. By holding incense burners in their hands, these, they say, describe the earliest form of the song practice, as do the many similar references to be found in the Tantras. So Gyaltse Shenpen Taye here is citing this as a source of the origins of what we would call the song practices of today, connecting it back to the time of the Buddha. Our practice of song offering. So these song offerings, smoke offerings, we find in different traditions, worldly traditions and the Christian tradition. They're often considered just as being offerings, making the offerings of the nice sense of smoke offerings, the offerings of flowers and so forth. But to simply understand it as that is probably not okay, to just leave it at that.
Sutra related to the veneration of Mahayana.
대담지를 첩이 탑시에요. 매시에요래, 가솜시에요래, 제시에요. 미세게 되네, 드레콜라.
가슴마저.
미세 드레콜라와 상힘 망고, 미세 키도 따지. 요래와 상게 심어. 베나다, 레신 슈파스다,
강조나.
간주 참아는 요래. 대충 다 간주는 거야. 엔저는 라고서 말 간주는 거. 대수가 나한테는 신뢰력이 남장 빼는거. 신뢰력이 미세게 들어봐. 그래서 때는 산지지 마성 말합니다. 대담지 가만히 그래서는 산지기 도안도대 나 따지요 말. 산지기 얘네 추가가 나와 있어야 되거든. 다다 나랑 가서 가서 다다 때야 되는데 딱이 있는 것도 막 되는 설레네 때는 남서 하고 거고요. 양 너희 방공성이다 너 찍고려면도 사단도 년도 산도 다 대담지 당고 젠되는 거와 젠된 저바 그 되는 미세게 되게 돈을 빼나 에는 저기 상 저기 미세게 되는 거 망고 소리
주의사.
야야 미세 신이 되네 미세 다 신거래 지신거래 남남의 망고 지시해야 했어.
So the Buddha himself, we have scriptures in the Kangyur and Tengyur, primarily in the Kangyur, that talk about, discuss give instructions on offering practices, the ritual offerings to various different spirits, worldly, the Nagas, the gods, who to make offerings to, who not, how to make offerings to them and not. So in this discussion of are these such offering practices as song and offering practices to these worldly spirits, energies, forces, deities, Buddhist or not? So as we said before, there are those that say they are not because they can't be found in particular texts. But if you look through the whole Kangyur, you'll find all sorts of instructions, practices, ritual practices relating to this song-type practices. In the Dharani sections of the Sutra teachings, the Dzung teachings, there are many texts relating to this. In particular, the text called the Sutra of the Veneration of Nagas.
Yeah, you can say that, but it's a little bit, I think, different translation. There's Sungdu, collection of all these different kind of dharanis.
Yeah.
There's one text from collected,
from within
extracted from the Kangyur. So in that.
So in the Kangyur, we have this section called the Dharani text, the Sungdu, the gathering of the Dharani mantra text, which have these ritual practices. So from among there, we have this one particular text called the Sutra of the Veneration of the Nagas, which goes through very, in precise terms, practices for making offerings to the Nagas, to the planetary forces, to the worldly gods, spirits.
There's another different sutra. It was Zayum and Karma Yum. It's not a mother of the planets, mother of the stars. There's another different kind of sutra. So these different kind of sutras are kind of explaining about this, venerating how to please this spirit.
So in all these various different texts, it talks in great detail about how to make these offerings, making offerings of the 3 white substances, the 3 sweet substances. And in particular, texts showing how song is particularly effective in dealing with spirits, the demonic spirits.
Smell.
In particular, the offering of a scent.
Yes, different kind of trees would have different scents. And different.
So there's details on on various different trees, different types of burnt scents to be used, whole litanies of different trees and plants to be used. So 19 particular plants or trees to be used as scent offerings that are described in these texts.
Sangcho.
Any young Guru Rinpoche, their children are us. Any that young and other candidates sang the Katambo Kani Johnson, Purdy Johnson. In a young, Tata to be young, Tata Zasson Bagia, young and Jolie Chimboch. Did not sound the Kani Johnson, Jagani Jones, such areas at Tabashaka to the Karis Sabaresana, send that the regular packages of the certain do. Then packages are landed so near Chiabres. That the con the carriage to go to Sena, then dig it out here to go, Purashanga to be Zabada, that dig is young the carriage Yaku Nomade, Kavan and Raho to Sena, then it lay Pangong. That dig goes on, let you put him though, goes on Salanic, La, yes on D, yes, Yementa, you get it in Zero Samari. Salanic, look, La, yes on.
Yes, enable switch kind of
Nyen.
Yen from Yen news.
What that? They come to the Choba, the Tiseta, that Masu Conte, Nangwala Maba Remedo, Nangwala Dochudo, Shakatopal Dochu. That can't understand D, that Zoom the day shall get to be song in that, that didn't know that Shakatopal as a Dochu. Chesa, that was Mona. Forget that, and so looks at you over it. In around to the Sang Yonte, Guru Rinpoche, any Hambo Maranzo, Kansat, Shagat to be Jazanini, then beat up with tap at the juice of the chubby, tap the band, what that, Delape, Maranzo per rank, then it looks at Delape, then out of Gaboyaba, take it to Bal Shuji Yaba Sonsa, then it, then out of Solita, the chicken, then Guru Rinpoche sang. Young Yachimbotinity part of Zeba there, and it got there permanently, Jabo and tell a bit music with Zachimbotin. Chip Becha Yandalita, some you get Kanjo in Mamura, there's all it's Zachi, some you get Zipak on the Tibet. Zipak on a tree. Then some eat in a Lojimas and what that was cherry. Karisanda Konanzo with up a big tower to turn the water. Chicken. Tell upon what in the Tamagahoya. Then is something on them there, then is sound the sort of Zipal Palogija in the chairman, the other photo, Yonda, the Samye Logimas. Then a young Yama dead pass on to tell a year by a year. Then a young Tena that I am somewhat of two passing with the science in the war. The young Guru chicken, nor some such a woman was nor some such a woman. That did young one. That's up on Chumo. That's up some true. Shoot the need to chew. Nor senator, tomato, Zopachava. That no, this song I get in it, chew. When I touch tomato, Sopamasson, Capri, United on my sauce on it, shoot down like a Maya, who trigger at Haro. Then, Ramo, that big logical young Karisha was in the Yabot song that time. That's if you're shoot it, young yet. You can't tell me around to the Gabu Zumojek, the name around to Kasa. Zumojek, the name around to Ta Karsepata, Jabo Mesala, Takalisan, Puguchi, your boy, Zumojek. And it's somewhat that Jabu Cheba Younger, Truck in Yomogeton, Pugu the Senate, Sajil, you.
Bugu de Sene?
Puta Saliogi, and the Pugut Ebush.
Yeah.
That this Chutu Capsule, that Karasanakoterva, that Jabu Sumo de Natapo. Not that Chebando, that Chimboy Chasagro. The nation then it dig a dollar to sort of get so bacha. Sumo Moran so bacha. Then it Jabu and so bacha, and then it Jabu Shimu, young, name Logito. The net trap more deep drum in that level of the net chick. The net sumo, the net Akarasa, sumo pair, the net Tamaya, that sumo, the net and that halam 되게 채바 보여 쏘고 채바로 보여 그냥 가서로 근데 좀 뭐야 다 그거를 뭐지 상위 치볼이야 짝줄 주어지네 근데 그거를 뭐지 사야 주어버려 근데 뭐라는 되게 정성들이 다 빼고 짬좀 넣어서 그러지 근데 그거를 뭐지 잡을게 하면은 다 강화들 뒤가 남도도 가르쳐서는 다 상마지 된다고지 차나 근데 지금 다 나서 좀과차 근데 다 그래서 잠이 시바들 잠을 용어도 와 근데 그걸 뭐지 어떤 나쁘면서 탑해 봐도 체랑서 아니 들었지 이지가 라들 가야 제고 말했어 아니 다 그래서 도스케체는 근데 좀 몰라야지 제발 가야 그래서 맞아야지 야보 코드기 바라에 맞대어 매바지 근데 상황에 짜와서 두고였어 근데 짜와서야 탑대 근데 상이 좋아진 전에 근데 이게 땡겨나 기경이 때문에 쪼바다 들이다 파야 내 너무 동화탐지야 정말 매봐서 두고였어 뒤 쪼바다는 한다 요 말했어 나한테 뭐만 다 되게 줬어 근데 계속 상이 좋아진 제 근데 그렇게 해서 근데 코로나도 강가 틈보서 다 마음과 들고 있는 지나서 남도 가야고 말해 나한테 뭐만 것도 되지 숙제보다 높아 나한테는 쭉 쓰기도 쭉 노르세 찹스 앞으로 드라미를 요했어 바제들 남도 껴라고 시해도 뭔고 시해요 근데 지금 거를 뭐지 그 상용 된 제체 근데 다 거저 야는 좀 같은게 tum보차 수모양 체바메 야조양 근데 다 거저 상마더니 또 자지 근데 지금 다 비양 로드를 잡아요 이 로드를 치스받는 데려 되게 상용 때 다다들 너상 같이 먹었어요 다다다 양에데 파체 이게 너나 지금도 파체 돼야지 로드를 잡아서 생각도 이게 무엇이든지 파체 이거면 아까 너상데 네 삼이 로드는 이거도 다 때고서 때려 마송 받게 다 고서 까만 나는지 이런 거를 뭐지 이제 비상용도야 쌍마게 되다가도 자야 딱 뭐만 코나 쪽으로 수기도 와 뭐 랑글도 수가 뭐다 쌍쪽 휴지지야지 되게 다 쌍거 미세 쌍마지야 로드도 와 네다 맞추고 공대 또 노상스 소바다 노르바다 근데 트랍다 타바다 근데 제는 중요한 축바다 그래서 참아지 쌍마서 투야 어떻게 지게 되는 양나 좀 시야도 예를 들는데 공대 노상 같이 먹는 소리가不用的，用我这个，
不会有在哪？
有啥这样？现在他黏着我，
弄乱
你啥都，我当然是这样的。我也不怎么了，话你，
没下面的
有不得你了，过了3万钱呢，你不吃啥？你他怎么的？我怎么的？你还吵起来了？你他，我都不说反正有不来。
Love and Kennedy. No, but integrity.
This sangit going to the more sangit and you want that. Chicken at the moment with a tapina. My own body, because of woman Chandua, was a zone or genata, as a mobile to go in here down. Net living. That dinner. Then it, there was actually Shepherd, you have you have touchy go.
So,
it's very important. Rinpoche is talking about the origin of sound. You know? All the time we are saying the sound reflects to Bonpo. Rinpoche is what he said now.
dispelling that notion.
Refuting.
Yeah, refuting. Extensively. Quite extensive. So Tibet, this scriptures of song texts, we can really date back to as they're known today, to Guru Rinpoche's composition of this the most extensive, elaborate song practice of Gyangyen. So in the Gyangyen song practice, where it discusses the origins of song, in that particular text it says song comes from Tibet and starts like from now. It's a Tibetan practice. But also there's in Tsasum Lingpa's termas, there's a Gyangyen song, extensive song practice as well. And in the origins, discussion of the origins of song in that text, Tsasum Lingpa identifies the origins as dating back to India.
This is Rinpoche. Tsasum Lingpa reveals it.
Well, yes, sorry. Tsasum Lingpa revealed the terma text of Guru Rinpoche. So in that other Gyangyen text, in the Tsasum Lingpa terma tradition, by Guru Rinpoche, it identifies India as the source, the origin of the teachings, and the Buddha Shakyamuni as the initial progenitor of the song teachings.
Yeah, so we can validate this with the previous sutra.
Which relates to what Rinpoche was previously saying about identifying the text within the Kongyur that were spoken words of the Buddha that relate to this practice of song and offerings to worldly deities and so forth. That particular text, the Sutra of the Veneration to the Nagas, where practices not just relating to Nagas but to various different spirits. The Nagas, the spirits living under the earth, the God spirits above the earth, and Nyen spirits living on the earth. Specific offerings and instructions for the offerings and rituals related to all those different spirits are put forth. So this whole notion that song is a non-Buddhist practice is, completely dispelled. You can find it in the Kongyur, and also dating back to Guru Rinpoche himself introducing this practice into Tibet. We have this extensive history of Guru Rinpoche bringing this practice to Tibet.
Yeah, so although Buddha Shakyamuni didn't compose this like liturgy of song like Guru Rinpoche, Gyangyen text like that, he didn't. Buddha Shakyamuni didn't do it specifically like that, but it was Guru Rinpoche who did like that after arriving in Tibet. So that's why. So in one way, it's true that Guru Rinpoche is mentioned in Gyangyen that song originated in Tibet.
So as Gyaltse Shenpen Tai addresses here too.
Now talking about the no song.
Yeah.
No song.
Samye Lotrima.
Lotus in it.
Lokti.
Mural painting.
So discussed in our text too. So Guru Rinpoche, when following the building of Samye Monastery, King Trisong Detsen became extremely sick. And it was at this point that Guru Rinpoche first composed a song offering practice in Tibet, which was extremely venerated, like the most preferred practice of the king. He fell in love with it. So much so that there was a mural created on the instructions relating to this particular practice of song.
No song.
No song.
Not Gyangyen.
No.
So we talked about the origin was Gyangyen. Another kind of song, no song. So now we're talking about no song. There's two origins into it.
So we have Gyangyen, the most extensive practice using all these various different systems of offering. And so Chisung Detsen becomes extremely sick and requests something to do, and Guru Rinpoche composes a song practice, which was the first null song practice, null meaning contamination. So a contamination removing practice of song, which was described in a mural on the walls of a Samye monastery that's still there today that you can see. That's an extremely famous mural that pilgrims go to visit, called the.
We're not sure it's there to see. And the Yoruba knows that there with the Yasamari.
다다 돌려서래. 이게 당분간 연결 받았을 때가 이 가서 배가 좋은 놈이. 다다 또 참아 뽑자라.
네, Yasamari.
다다 여섯 마리. 당분간 연결 가서 이 배가 좋은 놈을 놓게.
So it was there for a long time. It's probably not there anymore in Samye. But this,
다다도 배가 좀 참아만 쉽게 야사바즈래. 야미 참아 쉽게 야사바즈래.
So yes, the Chinese tore everything down, and it's been rebuilt where the. So now we have nothing left but the history of it. So this practice of contamination, cleansing, song, ritual. So the name of the that particular practice is Nosang Lakhyap Wangmo. Wangmo.
Yeah.
Be like cleansing waters of contamination, purifying song. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the name of that particular practice. That was this mural in Samye. So the history to that practice. So Chisung Detsen had been deeply afflicted or inflicted by some type of contaminating factor and had become quite sick. So one of Chisung Detsen's queens had become pregnant, and it wasn't by relations with Chisung Detsen, some other servant that this happened. So she was quite shamed, worried, embarrassed, what to do. So she had the baby and then threw it into the river out of her terror and fright of what would happen. So through throwing the baby into the river, then the spirits, the nagas of that area, of those waters, were upset, and null and drip, contaminating factors and inauspicious conditions and spiritual pollutants infected her from that action. And then from her connection to Chisung Detsen, he likewise was affected by that, contaminated by that. So this is all going on, and they don't know what to do, so they consult the divinations, they do various different things to figure out what had happened, and finally they can't come up with any means to alleviate this, to eradicate the null and drip, the contaminants and the spiritual pollutants. So they, Chisung Detsen takes this queen to Guru Rinpoche to request him for something. Please protect us, take care of the queen, heal us, get rid of these. What practice can there be for this? And Guru Rinpoche says, no need to worry. I can take care of all of this. We have a practice, a means to completely cleanse these contaminating factors, the dirt, whatever dirtiness, whatever dirtiness, contaminating factors, spiritual pollutants that will clear away all of them and eliminate the inauspicious conditions that are arising based on them. And it was this song practice of the cleansing waters, of purifying the contaminating factors through song. So Guru Rinpoche continues, and this practice is not just will not just eliminate the worldly contaminating factors, but will eliminate the contaminating factors, the pollutants of the afflictive emotions, and will be greatly practiced and venerated by future generations. Teaching in this way, in this song practice, It's not just, it's for the various different like superstitions surrounding, contaminating, like spiritual polluting factors that Tibetans have. Guru Rinpoche says no need to have any of these concepts about them. Be rid of these superstitions of these like 10 various different type of contaminating factors. Null, drip, so forth. So forth.
Different kind of sounds.
Yeah. So
the subdivision of null sound.
Mm-hmm. So there's these subdivisions of null song to address all these various different, superstition or conceptually based contaminating factors of Tibetans. So no need to have those anymore. These are to be eradicated. So that particular practice of song began this tradition of the null song, the song of cleansing, contaminating factors, and it's found within the Kama teachings. So there since then there have been many song practices that were hidden away as terma treasures and have been rediscovered over the generations. But this particular one is not a terma treasure. It's found within the Kama. Kama no. No song. Loban says it's not in the Kama.
Oh. No.
It might be in the Kama.
I think it's both in Terma. I think it's in Terma also, I think. Last time.
Okay.
Logu
Kama.
No sound. Actually, yeah, no sound.
Yeah. So there's null songs in both Kama and Terma. This particular one of Guru Rinpoche that we just discussed the history on is found in the Kama. So all this pointing out the validity and origins of song as a legitimate Buddhist practice that dates back to both Buddha Shakyamuni as well as Guru Rinpoche, at times being said to have originated in India, others said to be originated in Tibet based on various different reasons. And also these histories of pointing out the origin and also pointing out the efficacy of song as a cleansing practice. As it's one of its primary functions is as a cleansing ritual.
Yeah, the reason why King painted mirror,
because he loved it so much.
He loved it so much. It was matching the ancient Tibetan tradition too. That's why he painted in the mirror. So
I forgot. So one other reason why saying song originates from Tibet, it pleased the ministers and the Bund masters of the time. This was their practice, their Tibetan tradition of a song, and in part why it was the mural of it was put up in Samye as this Tibetan practice of song, this Tibetan addition to this Buddhist system, and also it just became the favored practice of Trisong Detsen and many practitioners of the time.
And also the illustration drawing of this Gyangin Lapsang, extensive Lapsang called Gyangin, was also said to be in the mural. But
Tine, yang datang aja tene sama tipo main ba, dijor ba. Ta, sehingga semela ya baratas, darang arah tu sang itu bat satu. Tiada tene arah tu doyan jadi coba ceng tu sebetulnya tene coba cari doa. De sanjay ke kari nang song yor sena, chodeng cuba nang yor. Chodeng cuba. Cuma namni. Nam chodeng nang lika cari doa. Cuma namni ke cuba nang. Taking zone on a car song or a senna. Then I took the chodeng the thing I saw. Jim called to cups down. Chodeng and Mama, you are 되네 가르세다 전대다 대소고 배치서 그렇지 아니 좀 토마 제제네 아니 마마도 요 말에 추가로 넣어요 말에 되는 알아서 가르세다 지금 하든 더니 되네 도와서 남카는 야 좋네 되네 벤 처비 정식 되네 그래서 지금 넣어요 거만 쳐봐봐 저로서 양 미과양 대기도 자오서 근데 선 다 대선 공부사 그 대라고 공부다 메스가도 근데 도와 남칼로 야르도 근데 미과 가르세 너형 같은 배트에서 이렇게 뭐지 처비 정식 못하는 데는 너형 그 쳇밥 대나게 되는 용거를 해서 근데 미과양 대나게 지에서 되는 한 너야다 미과다 되는 소미래
숭대기나
최대한 게 되다 최대한 게또 가시는 요 같이 어제 주면은 요래 양 최대한 게 현다지 요래 뒤나는 요래 이렇게 이렇게 돈이 빼네 산지랑 다다가 저 이렇게 다야 요래스 옛날에 요래스 다 대례하고 당은 옛날에 여지래서 다 말하는 통용과
쥐는 뭐치고 쌍 떨어서는데 쥐는 빼만 것도 안 싸요.
다다도 좀딴 너무 좋아하나 샤주고 좋아 샤주고 좋아하면 나나
샤르기
제자미주
저주주주.
참
대때 얘네 그래서 당시에 얘네 상지게 쏘면은 얘네 노주나 요 말에서는 코란도 딱 맞춰버려 아저 그 통역은 나와 된다고 콩 톱탁주 폐점짜리 매주 들을 망고도 없어
So some functions as a cleansing practice, cleanse whatever obscuration, spiritual pollutants, and so forth. But it shouldn't be understood as just solely being a practice for cleansing, in that possessing just that function. Also as an offering practice that also serves to clear away obscurations, hindrances, and so forth. And there's other sutras, other texts dating back to the Buddha where in his own words he discusses particularly texts relating to the assembly and consecration of stupas, where Rinpoche himself is engaged in these practices from these...
It's a Kriya Tantra text.
Sungaya.
Yeah, there's zongs. Zong
Do, yeah.
간단 초den기 노래. 초den기 종.
주민당 어제 주민당이요.
So still in the sutra context, so in the Dharani Sutra, Dharani class sutras on the relating to stupa assembly and so forth, there's the visualization and mantra to be engaged in to purify or cleanse, clear away all obscurations, all hindrances to making, establishing stupa that you're building, consecrating. Where you light the fire, have the smoke, with the particular sandalwood, incense, whatever given substance. And then the smoke is to be visualized as cloud masses of desirable objects that rain down as offerings to whatever various given beings. And by making those offerings, all hindrances are cleared to the construction of the stupa. So in those texts, it's not an elaborate explanation. There's simply the mantra given and the visualization. It's said, visualize in this way. And
that's exactly same to the present sound practice visualization. So we don't have to have other than that origin of sound.
So in those sutras, the simple explanation of the visualization is exactly the same as our current practices of Riwo Sangcho, song visualization. So really we need no additional evidence than that to date it back to the Buddha himself, to identify it as a Buddhist teaching. It's 100%, no doubt to be had, clear. And then likewise in Kriya Tantras, Kriya Yoga Tantras, song practice, ablution practices, the use of the elements, water ablutions and so forth. Song type practices are discussed and engaged extensively in the Kriya Yoga texts. So that also connects it as a Buddhist practice. And so it really comes down to those people that say song can't be identified as a Buddhist practice, just were unable to read the Kongyur. They didn't see the text because it's 100% certain that you can find it. It's there. There's no doubt.
There's plenty in different kinds of texts that we can show.
Bathroom break.
Voilà, so. Ne? Yang so yang wa. So ta kandas ni ngaran das kaps Samye tambo ta ngaran so ane Jingba ta jindu kaps Samye yang ma tukje ne shibre ene goro Rinpoche ge ta hasen tampe amno trago ene nimo meis samo lanjus ene ta te tampe ta ta tisere ta Kandar yang ne pede Samye sikpa minran jingba ra sa sikpa minran bit ta te tisere jingba ra sa lege tole ta te tisere ta Samye sikpa sama mo yore Medusa yoga, Medusa yoga, so practice. Chevario. Today is tin. That in every then I was in the Samye Yons of what Tromne, and then go to Rinpoche. That's it. Landed solata, Angra. Angra, gratitude. That can't have Missom Tampian, Zonkin, that I was handed to the Angra chair. I got yes, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Put your chairs on the top of the and that's something on the teacher. Yes, yes. Yes, and I thought, then it does sound the chair. Then it can't the pet landed something at the net, just the hippo for that, gather that. I'm found that you Samye was think it was Samye, then it Samye leaking Samye mountain. Then now he then bound myself until the net Jabola, then it Jabo saw chin. Let down on it. Chit it down door, another percent of my son. There was so much chit down the net. Land the net or the name around so that it is a third yoke somewhat in the magic. That was so much in the chair. Then, 2 days, that was carried a senna, that was Naba. That was Nabaki, rather Nabaki, Sibajonga. Sibajonga, the sun is young. He knew what kind of only over that, or big down that. That's what is given. Oh, yeah. That in his own day, then he got out to go and range of songs. Some range of songs. That did a bug with me, then it down Navaki, Sibajonga Tella. Then it got the owns Zobatin after any children. And then Kavala towards a Lomba Sosa was Ritoshu, Kawa and things in the long leg. Then it's some and it joke, the net better just that it in a sharp road. Yeah, getting that in his own the time after Zamain song singing in his chuma. 다 되게 고정하고 다 아니 상 로직을 다시 용어스다고 다 다다봐도 되래. 다때 그 용거양다 뭐 다시 하게 나와요. 남의 게 선생님들 손도 쉬는데 참아대 제도와 아 때라더니 말아서 참았어. 근데 때나긴 말아서 그래. 믹서기 단제고 하나다 다 거기 믹서기 있어요. 다 거기 나와 믹서기 다 쌍도 진짜 차버려. 이나야 메인트란 자메이트 상세.
One extremely famous practice of Samye dates back to the time of Chisung Detsen as well. Another extremely famous practice of Samye, practiced by all Tibetans, whatever given tradition, region you're from. So during the time of Chisung Detsen, as we all probably know, he was working to build a Samye monastery. It wasn't going so well. He was unable to complete it, and for that reason invited Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, to Tibet to assist in the construction of Samye and establishing the Buddha Dharma in Tibet. Guru Rinpoche taming the deity spirits, demons on his way and in and around Samye, taming them, bringing them under his command, and Samye was miraculously constructed, said to have been constructed by day by humans and by night by the gods. Constructed, yeah, like the spirits, in particular the 8 classes of haughty spirits and so forth, constructed Samye at night while the people constructed it during the day. Said to be constructed in a nothing built before, constructed in this miraculous way. And then following the construction, it was depicted in murals in Samye. The spirits, the gods building at night, and the humans building it during the day. So following the completion of the construction of Samye, then as an expression of gratitude to the gods and spirits that had not stood in the way and had helped facilitate and helped actually construct Samye, then Guru Rinpoche instituted Tibetan Thanksgiving, this practice of offering gratitude to the spirits for facilitating, helping with this construction of Samye and bringing the Buddha Dharma to Tibet. So for this, they all went. Guru Rinpoche led the procession to the highest point around Samye, to the top of Hepati mountain top, just outside Samye. So from the top of there, they performed song ceremonies as this expression of gratitude and offering to all the spirits and gods and spirits that had helped. And then following that, they celebrated for 3 months straight. They had a 3-month-long festival of celebration and, in gratitude and in exuberance. And where they played many games, sung songs, danced dances, and raced horses, and massive celebration. So this tradition has maintained up to the present day, where this initial performance of Thanksgiving, this song performance of Thanksgiving to the spirits and gods, was performed during the 5th month of the Tibetan year, on the 15th day of the 5th month. So now, all Tibetans, no matter what region they're from, whoever they may be, maintain this holiday, this festival celebration. It's called Zangling Chisung, the song practice for the world universally, the universal song practice for the world, Samling Chisang. So the history of that practice, that very renowned practice of song, called the Samling Chisang, this is the history of it. It dates back to Guru Rinpoche. That's where it originally came from. So today it's celebrated by Tibetans, wherever they may be. Go off to the highest point around, whatever your land may be, make song offerings, offerings of gratitude, and then sing, dance, race your horses. And it's become a national holiday recognized by the Tibetan governments. This national holiday of the 15th month of the 5th day is the Samling Chisang, the universal song offering for the world.
다 도스제도 값서 에네 간다다 나란 속에 상대 로주가 돌아다 나란 속에 방가 뜻값니 거기서 다서 침보 여바치지 되게 돌아다 남백이 나란 속에 상대야 공룡이가 땅에 대라고요 샤키아 투바니 뭐를 못했네 맞아서 공룡 아주 그 공룡대 차상 같은 노주 간에 보내야 우겨요 좋지. 다때 빼 되는 거라서 그거는 믹서기 자체 뭐 로트바데 그 코랑 것이 나무가 남록 소리 줘라. 대다야
길람.
Yeah, ancient tradition.
나무길람.
대다야 투본라고 정말 송사 되네 버릇에 믹서죠. 디 마세비 내 삼바지는 하는 뱀번인데 하는 다 참튼죄하게 직자완라고 제 잡을 했었거든.
Getting together.
야, 가르쳤으나 하나님 상그 용되고 뱀번이가를 지금 누구요래? 딱 그거가 나차만 누구요래? 수마차만 누구요래? 제당 누구요래? 야, 상그 용되다 빼네 양양 가상도 속에 상그 용은 노당지 어려와 망부지 범부그 책가는 야야요.
범부기직.
범부그 뭐지다 책이 야가요. 빼나 나라도 가르쳤으나 되네. 다다 인디아 미츠도 찍바래. 사대 아마레스, 남대 아바레스, 맞아 가르치스도 가르세, 마들 어치스도, 어떤 거 상관없는 그런 대사람 배제 땅이라고, 맞아 다 상그 저도 간이 중간에 해서도 되네, 맞아 그 아마데 사대, 아바데 남대 되네 공인 거 되네, 가르세, 되네 남는 조드 차, 되네 반에 주마데 저 되네 차바데 밥 되네 산에 지행데 제바레스, 그래서 그 로지대요. 하나는 도스제티는 답변을 상게 제기서 그래서
사대. 사대 아마네.
사대 아마네. 나. 되는 나오카드 아바네. 나. 다 나는 보내 아바드니만 드롭라더니 드니만 차바바 사드니 되는 가서 가서 랑바트서 야른로 되는 공인 자자더니 지행당 셴당 되니 쯔당 셴당 선제들이 제거요래. 내것도 상용 걸 뭐지 내도 그 상용 어떻게 하면 야고요. 이 로즈도 가르에서는 그 그래 나 그저 그 엄마랑 하나도 직 되니 녹수 민바도가 그다 거기서 나와 민바데 그때랑 그래 등산들도 아메리카 그랬더니 다 거기서 인디아도 거기서 상당도 집어도 거기서 상당도 되니 배치세래 슈바당 되니 다당가서 태바도 집어도 거기서 세월 파 가서 아마도 거기서 아바드 미시 아마리카도 사서 그도 불러 아니 다 가는데 딱 쓰기로 용으로 저러다 이 탐지 거기서 tum보라고 차 이게 또는 버기 연락 이다 번거 숨마트서 강가 천년을 넣어버려 늦게 되니 미세게 번거 뭐말하네 다르죠 끼끼 쏙쏙 생겨 하자로 생겨서 그래서 가서 남방게 레면도 그래서 이제 딱 걸어서 번거가 뭐만에 거기서 드랍 마잡 되는 로드도 달았어 달았어 말았어 되는 그래서 걔들
말았어.
Yeah. And god of enemy, god of war.
말았어.
Yeah.
그래서 그 책에서도 제바쳐 배절 빵는데 제로 다 받아 가서 제대로 될 때티 참준다고 제가 하는 차 여지를 상으로 빼놨다 밴다 나가서 야간 반 남바데 돌아봐 그 고소 본보더니 하나 고소 파제씩 참 드는 거고. 냠도 지야 그냥 회심부터 차 여기를 했어 아무도.
So continuing with our history of song and the development of song, particularly in Tibet. So we have this song-like practices, the song of the Bun tradition. Predates Buddhism coming to Tibet. The development, mass practice of Bun song. And then as we've been discussing, the development of song as a Buddhist tradition. So when we say Bun here, the song practice of Bun here, we need to be specific with what kind of Bun we're talking about. So here we're talking about the primordial Bun, the original Bun. The Bun meaning the tradition of the primordial original peoples. Not necessarily the Bun practices of the Bun tradition as it's understood today. The Bun tradition of today really has just adopted our same practices and views and everything.
Bun religion, the other Bun religion, it came to Tibet later on, like Buddhism, from Shangchod. So it's like ancient Indian culture, like this. We're just talking about that. And we say primordial Bun, yeah.
Primordial Bun. Not like the tradition of Bun that we would understand today or that came into Tibet. But the Bun, the traditions of being connected to nature, based on nature from the original peoples. So as we've said with the Buddhist song, we can date its origins back to Buddha Shakyamuni, from Buddha Shakyamuni to Guru Rinpoche. So in Tibet, the ancient traditions of primordial practices relating to nature, these primordial Bun, are really in harmony with ancient Indian doctrines and the Buddhist doctrines that promoted song, which is probably why it has become so vast in Tibet, because it fit with the understandings that were there at the time.
So that's why we can find so many these ancient Bun technical terms in the Samye. The reason why we are using, Rinpoche has used so many ancient these technical terms of Bun in the Samye. We can find Father Art, Father Sky, Mother Earth, and all these things.
So song, Buddhist song practice relating to the elements and nature connects to this primordial understanding of nature and the elements. The idea of Mother Earth, Father Sky, and the ancient Indian tradition of the Father Earth becoming stirring up, becoming agitating.
Indian tradition, sang don't is sang the login now tonguti. Because consu bombo de gara shadow.
Yeah.
Koran's 나를 다른 나라는 망부기 지당 직변에 차수로 당 희해가 이 상은 나한테 희야 먹어서 그거 그다음 레깅바 그런 거 따가지고 와 대단한 희해가
In the song histories of song, the development of the world, of the universe, does not necessarily coincide with the normally accepted Buddhist doctrine of the development of the world, but instead it fits with the primordial understanding of the development of the world of the original Tibetan people and of original peoples. Namely, this idea of Mother Earth, Father Sky. Father Sky's like stirring up then leads to the rains falling down, connecting, the rains touching, joining with Mother Earth, and from Mother Earth everything is born based on this connection happening, this relationship happening. You have plants, trees that grow out of that. All sentient beings grow out of the Mother Earth, but grow out of Mother Earth based on that union, the coming together of the two. So it's in relation to that history, this elemental, natural history and understanding of the world connects to ancient traditions predating a modern day understanding of Bun or Buddhism that Song is rooted in and found its roots in why it would be in harmony with the already understandings of the world of Tibet at the time. So also we find similar understandings in America. Native American understandings and practices of the world. Native Americans practice what looks just like Song, making offerings, smoke offerings of juniper, sage, or wormwood, whatever. We also have Mother Earth here. Who the father is with Native Americans, I can't speak to, but I've definitely heard of this concept of Mother Earth within Native Americans as well. So we have this like universal connection.
Yeah, so in this song, in our song right now, we can find this drums like Kiki, so which was
Sangina.
Yeah.
So also our modern Tibetan tradition of yelling out Kiki Soso Lagyalo dates back to this primordial Bun. Kiki Soso Lagyalo identifying the war gods, gods of the enemies and so forth, connecting to them. Shimba?
Yeah, so these terms like Kiki Soso Lagyalo were used during ancient time, during the ancient shaman of Tibet, right? Tibetan shamanism. So these old words, these word technical terms can be found many in our sound text right now. So it was kept intentionally to accord in harmony with them. So people will like it, and then so that's why like these were to mean to venerate the enemy god, war god, so different kinds of these words technical terms used by ancient Bonpos to and then when they go to the war they use this cheering up, right? The victory signs, and then they make offerings or venerate the war gods, enemy gods, like that.
다다는 번스를 시에도 가서 이 다다가는 저 다다 번한테니 다다는 추당 근데 번다 추당도 와 디츠 나를 그렇게 번다 양 괜히 순서래도 제게다 말하는 저 지수지 상용의 처를 요즘 뭐 나름 그 번되게 그 가르쳐야 다다 네트워크에서 그래 그 나이 아메리카에서 그러고 집안에 코란서 왔다 레당 싱나당 소소가 코란 하지 그래 생계에서 하라고 지네 다다야 법안에 되게 박차 쉬우치 뭐 쉬어요래 배는 에고 세미네 나 이거 나 거기서 가고 싶지가 프로페서 인디아에서 다 바바드서 들어가래 다 그렇게서 드네만 로고는 남한에 드네 찍어서 나 차다 나한테서 나가게 따르도 차다 락당 드네 근데 통과에는 드네 까다전에 드네다 내가 빼야고 용거를 하네 이게 소소 세게 나와서 가르쳐는 거 나가게 차르도 네 락당 드네 착생에 돼서 다 뒤값을 고쳐 최사라고 가르쳐서는 파제지 말하는 소가 아마 파미 속에서 추억이 그래 아바 이렇게 손을 쓰기요. 근데 다당 아주 성경은 계속 양이요. 파라 고베 나가스기도 고베 나가스 파라 마라 자라 샹라 차라스
파마
고통 나가요. 다당 아주 성경에서는 대가라는 계속 양이요.
파마드라
파 아바 아마 아영 네 자라 차라 생각에 다 옆줄 징이지 있어.
디강라 되는 갭줄지.
아바 여라 아바 미초글라 아메 초글라. 근데 다 샹아서 아영네 이사로. 근데 다 자라시. 근데 차가서는 딱 말하는 소리 되네요. 랑이게 다 지금 와서 늘은 거야. 그래서 하나님 살라고 파체 말아도 때려고 쓰기도. 아주 다 미래 미니관이 나가 이쪽 무슨 인간 깨당이 못되나. 그쪽 상들 당도. 근데 가려고 도서 고정한 냥 깨줘 되게 고서 가려고도 니해라. 고서서도 밤에 암에 용의 지나서 되는 패션 와서 노로바 저러 주세요. 빨리 누가 그 방법 했을 때 다시 가서 랑이 방법을 쓰러 되래. 마치 밤에 암에 용의 되는 아까 암에 되는 지나서 간가 마셔. 근데 가서 노로바 저러지. 근데 가서 빠지 약조를 저러지 된다 그래도.
That's the verb.
이 가래 될 가래지 소주자면서 가래 엄마시라고 다 말아서 방법되게 소주자. 대해서 소주자. 다 처음에 가서 다 처음에 가서 멈춰지고요라. 심지어 세 멈춰지고요. 다티 방법에서 다 대지마에서 다양해서 매번전에 양 고속 대해서 소주자. 다 지마한테는 다 거를 뭐지 배우는데 다 대탐지. 다 지금 말하는 저 배치서 뜻에 얘네 엄마가 지금 망주라고 지도와 대수가 나니 다 직배는 생겨 말서 멈춰 제야가서 갔다 돼서 막거지 다 엄마 아바 아만 쳐야 토라 되네 다 말하는 저거 야 상지 저 관조 쓰기군요 뭐 뭐야 내가 리도 민긴죠 다 돼서 그때는 직되네 말하는 저거 컨디션이 로예
What is that?
야 되네 된저기 토라 다 갑결지니 다 뭐만 알아서 아바 아만 쳐야 돼. 되네 다 같이서랑 알아서 그야 쳐빙 관조고 섬에서 야더니 야를 쳐야 담배 추종도 서로 바로 쳐야 그리고 승리한 담배를 막 짐바 나야 되네 믹서 너브지 그릭에서 담배를 되지야 오 되게스 때는 되네 다 상도 쳐와도 빼 되네 다 자신 못 나오지 되네 박 가는 게 없지 너다 리스트 뭐가 나오지 리스트 주도 나오지 말했어.
So this primordial bun, again, not discussing the historical bun that developed in Tibet, coming from the land of Sangchod, the bun practice, the shamanic practices, shamanic traditions, predating that, where like an animistic shamanic tradition of perceiving the elements of nature as one's deities. The mountains, the plants, sentient beings, animals were the gods. Quite similar to what Rinpoche has seen in Native American tradition, particularly like the eagle. The eagle can be revered as almost a deity here and also in ancient Tibetan tradition, but tradition that has persisted up to the present day, where, for example, if you see an eagle or a leopard when you're going on a journey somewhere in Tibet, even today, if you're heading off on your journey, and you see a leopard, then that's
Eagle.
Eagle and a hawk.
eagle and a hawk.
Yeah.
Eagle and a hawk. Leopard's probably good too. So an eagle and a hawk, that's a very auspicious sign. That spirit has shown up. It's bringing you good fortune. You'll see them and shout out, Kiki, so. Great, I've seen the hawk and eagle. Now I go about my journey.
That's a sign of eagle, sign of the
Kladra.
Dala.
Jala.
enemy of God. So there's technical term called Dala in Sang, so enemy of God.
Enemy of God sounds
but it doesn't. But it's like that. But it doesn't mean it's protecting enemy. It's protecting us from the enemy. So the technical term is like that. Dala. So eagle is a sign of the Dala. So that's why they're very happy today. I can accomplish.
And if you're going off to fight, if you were going off to your conflict or your battle, and you see one, that's a very good sign. The eagle, the hawk, it's the sign of the Drahla, the God for the enemies, maybe.
Against.
So this persists to today, because really it's been the tradition for generations upon generations upon generations of Tibet that ideation is still there, and also one's own this tradition, this way of understanding God's protection, deities, and so forth. It's also ancestral in that the protector spirits of your ancestors, of your parents, of your parents, of your parents, they continue on with you. So we have what are called the Goethe, 5-head God.
No. Goa means all the time helping to
Goa.
Yeah, Goa. Individual helping the individual.
The personal or constant.
Yeah.
So we have what we call the 5 personal gods, or 5 personal deities, or 5 constant protector deities. Goethe in Tibetan.
Tibet. Every Tibetan has this notion.
Guides.
So these 5, we have the protector god of one's father, the protector or the god of one's mother, the god relating to one's enemies, the god of maybe one's paternal uncle.
Enemy did
Pala mala drala shangla drakla.
Dala mare.
Pala
Shangla tabla lula. Lula.
Trala lula. Then a she chakra.
Lula.
Trala.
Tala. Lula.
Trala. Trala dan lula.
Lula.
So we have the god of the father, the mother, god of one's uncle, paternal uncle, the god of on one's shoulders, and then the physical god, the god of the body. So the father and mother god, they are the spirits or the deities connected to your ancestry on those sides. So your paternal ancestral gods that have protected the that side of the family continue to protect you, are constantly with you. Likewise with the mother, and then your paternal uncle's deity, ancestral deity, is with you, protecting you, and then the shoulder god is the god that is constantly on your shoulder with you, going with you, protecting you. Has your back. It's God that has your back.
Support.
Yeah, that's supporting you, constantly supporting you. And the Hula, the deity naturally connected individually to you, to your existence, your body. So these are the 5 gods of any given individual in this ideation that persists through in Tibet. So some years ago in
I'm doing I know this is very strange, but really this existed from the ancient Tibetan bone. This term existed. Still, we Tibetans have this notion. Yeah, these are all that every time individual protector every time. So in the Sang text you can find a lot of these things, and then if you hear right now, then you don't find it strange. It's really, you can find it again and again if you go to extensive elaborate something.
Some years ago, Rinpoche was in Montana and was invited by the sage.
Rinpoche invited this
Rinpoche invited the Stephen Small Salmon, it doesn't matter who, but anyway, invited a Native American elder of the community up there, priest, to come perform some consecration prayers. And so he comes and it looks just like song. And Rinpoche asked the translator, he's like, what's he saying? And the translator at that time said, oh, they're praying to their ancestors. May the spirits of my mother and father and my ancestors come help and protect me, like, be present with us now, and so forth, on and on like this. And Rinpoche immediately was like, that's just like just like us Tibetans. We have that same, same kind of idea, dating back to the prehistorical shamanic traditions of Tibet that still persist to the present day. Praying to the ancestor spirits and praying to the spirits connected to one's ancestors to come help, support us, protect us, bless this, whatever, bless this activity and so forth. So that type of thinking pervaded Tibet, still pervades Tibet, and was slightly transformed during when the Buddha Dharma entered into Tibet.
Demagi bombola dindigi namdo tan diditua la shinga sama dirawa tatsigi nirawa shinga redo chudan sama demas di koel hana so batigi dua igi jela dini janju ni tomba shere bombo de tomba shere bombo tomba shere bombo founder rawa tomba rawa sanju chonde dito digi di bombo digi des juju tangdo transform jedo modify jedo
marse de samsha
la so modify jedo
shangshum ki tumba
Shamanic tomba that bombo tanda bombo religion di dirwa
las
shamanism
las yungdungpa.
Oh yeah.
So that was there in Tibet, but with that type of perception, perceiving things, and connecting to the spirits and gods, before the modern understanding of the Buddhist tradition, or Buddhist tradition for that matter as well, entered, the primary practice was making blood sacrifices to appease those spirits. So this changed, this was transformed by the Buddha of the modern day Bun tradition, Tunpa Shira Bunbo. Tunpa Shira Bunbo, who in the Bun tradition is revered like Shakyamuni Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha, who entering into Tibet from Shangshung kind of recognized these ideas, and then began to present practices that transformed them away, in particular, away from blood sacrificing. So, and then Guru Rinpoche likewise, with practices of song and so forth. So Guru Rinpoche, once the Buddha Dharma entered into Tibet. So yes, pray, make offerings to the your mother and father spirits and ancestors and so forth. But in addition to that, added into the lexicon of the practices of making offerings and connecting to what are termed the four guests. The guests of the three jewels, the guests of the jewels, the guests of enlightened qualities to be revered, the land deities, spirits, and so forth, the guests of the 6 realms of existence, and the guests of those that you owe a karmic debt to, the malevolent spirits, and malicious spirits, and so forth. So yes, make offerings to these spirits, and then in addition to that, include these offerings in connecting to making much vaster connections, namely to the 4 guests. So we have this developing this litany of practices, including song, that connect and make offerings of generosity to the what we call the 4 guests. So then it was in this way, with this kind of transformation process, that the practice of song developed and proliferated throughout Tibet into the practice that we know of it as today.
아니 땅가서 가르치 잡으랬으나 다 피과 침 이네 땅가서 저왜 가르쳐 잠도 semje 다 뭐면 봐 땅가서 피과 침 먹거든요 가서 칭송 제 얘네 제랑 소랑 다때 탐치기 때문에 가서 가서 냠다 야제는 근데 다용 강한테 다 피과 침 먹지 얘네 남 부성 속과 좀 차리고 양은 들을 등상아 사소를 로소를 레솔스네 마법다 그거 아니 가르면서
나
등상 되네라 등상 미만 못해서 사소 로소를 제야 집 가라서 아니 된다고 집 되니 가르세고
다소야 되는
소야 되는데 소야 되고 된다고 세는 등상 마법만 못 당도 얘네 된만 거 집. 그래 말해서 등산인데 아주 그 난관이 다 특별침 좀 최선을 지어서 다 참여를 된다는 잠동요래 선제요래 되나 근데 특별침 뭐 뭐라미요래 제람이요래 근데 때문에 맞아 다 특별침 변호네 좀 다당한 다 써는 거 초사야 봐 써는 거 초사야 돼다또 노르지 특별도 나와 다 제발 노르지 특별도 나와 노르지 특별이 제람 근데 맞아 이어성지 다 되게 돈이 탑 많고 까마매봐. 노송 충청마도 막그 써는 챔버사 통해. 그러나 탑시 충청지를 다 맞아. 자란 로지 있는 다 베이스 증가는 소양 큐침버지 배졌다나 양 지는 삼천은 세나 차고 세나랑 그러와. 세나랑은 양 디바사고. 양 써는 많이 바사도. 대할 때 되네 탑 근데 드소라 배 간세고 빛 상당 초가 얼마다 되려와 맞아 다다 지만 남기세 상다지 소르더니 추야 추고도 얼마도와 추장고 추고 얼마당 끼어다 돼서 그래서 한로 상먹고 땅 보고요 로 상먹고 땅 보면서 근데 맞아 세나리오가 말해 양 선남 침보사 두고 그랬고 콜비 니를 쳐가지 두고 와 그런데 일이 쳐봐. 쳐봐는 로고요래, 김바는 로고요래. 특과 지금 그 다지 탑키 타만 까매봐. 다 등산가서 배줘야 보다는 그냥 네 가서 써는 쌓아야 돼. 투명 많이 봐지 차고요래. 양네 라솔 레솔 등이 되게 말해서. 투명 많이 봐 제주만 거요래서. 그래서 계좌에 열었어. 누나야, 그 여는 누가 알았어. 와서 semje 파마 semje 답이 열어봐. 이너 파뿌에 찍어요 말했어. 상을 줘봐나. 니 찍어 파뿌에요 말했어. 드레이는 다 더이네 너 같이. 용수도 봐도 파마 semje로. 난 드레이나. 야와 열마도 가래 두고 열어. 가요 말했어.
Our current practice of Sam, primarily a Mahayana practice. It's kind of a key point to understand. The practice of the great vehicle contains all requisite elements of a great vehicle practice. It has refuge, it has bodhicitta, it has dedication, aspiration. It contains the three bindings, the three excellences, the three requisite aspects of something to make it a Mahayana practice. Additionally, it relates to or has elements of development stage, completion stage. All these elements are contained within the practice itself, making it a perfect and complete training to accomplish the great vehicle, Mahayana. So sometimes Sang practice is denigrated as being a supplication to the spirits, supplication to worldly gods, supplication to Nagas, being nothing other than that. But really, these practices and the way that they're done now and the way that we engage in them, the entirety of the meaning of the sacred text of the Mahayana is contained within.
I think we should say veneration of Nagas
veneration. Yeah. So they're like denigrated as veneration practices of spirits, of worldly gods and so forth, but they're not. They're perfect practices of the Mahayana. And in particular, they're means, uniquely powerful means for amassing merit. And especially as Vajrayana practices. Vajrayana practices primarily based on the foundation of a development stage, focused on development stage, become a very easy means that doesn't require much difficulty, much means to get stuff together. So a very simple, easy, and effective way to amass a tremendous amount of merit through what can be very small substances, small, easy to acquire substances that may not be of great, like worldly value. And then through that, we can amass a great merit, very effective practice. So sometimes with giving, making offerings, if there's an item that you particularly like, there can be, and the practice is contaminated by like avarice, by clinging to that substance, whatever it may be. But in general, with this practice of song and with what we call the 4 practices of generosity, referring to the practice of song, sur, water torma, water scattering practices, and chut, the practice of generosity of one's own body. They're quite cheap. What you're offering, the substances themselves are easy to get. There's no real danger of giving rise to avarice, covetousness to the objects themselves. You have and then making the offering of the like simple substances. Then at once you're performing practice of offering to the exalted beings, while also amassing the merit of performing the practice of generosity to lower beings. All done at once in one simple effort. So in this single simple means, we have this profound method for amassing a tremendous amount of merit. So this practice of song is definitely not a practice of offering veneration to worldly gods, spirits, nagas, and so forth. It has many particularly unique and profound features as a practice of Mahayana. That being said, within the texts themselves, yes, there is some veneration. The words themselves, you may be venerating gods, worldly deities, nagas, and so forth. But the meaning behind the practices and the function of them is really as a profound means for amassing merit. So when we're so within song as a Mahayana practice, we may be reciting words of veneration to particular classes of spirits and so forth. But as a Mahayana practice, we're recognizing all beings to be one's kind parents. And in this recognition and the perception of all beings as being one's kind parents, there's no perception of a differentiation of this one's better, that one's to be venerated, this isn't. They're all our kind parents, and we're making offerings to the exalted beings, giving to the lower beings, perceiving them all to be connected to us as our parents.
Social idea.
Longer topic than Barre, longer than Barre, topic than Barre, longer than Banamare, topic than Banamare, any, no Barre Mare. And I'm telling what you get in the bed, just some mango on those. There, longer topic than Bassing them, getting around so that the top consul called open. Here and over in the Mare, Bomja and Mare, Kanga Mina. Then I just on say, Kanga, no, the top one much lower to do a challenge.
Part of why I wanted to get into this extensive discussion about this, the sources and the meaning of song and so forth. These days we see on social media particular in these WeChat groups, discussion of song. What song actually is? Is it even the Buddha Dharma at all? If it's the Buddha Dharma, does it fall within the teachings of scriptural teachings or the scripture of realization, the two divisions of the Buddha Dharma, Lungi Tempa and Tope Tempa? And if it's neither of those, if we can't identify neither of those, then it's not Buddhist at all. Many different strange things Rinpoche has been seeing on social media about song and Tama.
Then if there's something to accumulate merit, then we have it doesn't have to be definitely within these two categories. You know, there are lots of things other than two of these. You know,
if it's like an effective means for amassing merit, the merits of virtue, then it doesn't need to be clearly classified in those ways. It's an effective practice. It's authentic.
That's any. This songs ngaran soge ta sanji thup kheba ase tuje chembo jen soge ta mise de dorje tipage chechu she de ta kare she gorusena ene ta ngaran soge pe de she goras ene karese cha tawa le tabo ja chembo zogo ta nga soge tipa chembo go nane jen zogo tene samlo be she goras
Samno.
No, you Samba chebarkina any, then it must have been any so chebarkin satuya. Then drink it any, Karasa Gorogo, any Tabjisina, then Marazo, dear, any, no naked any matter Karasa, any Dorjet Buggy, Yar Lam Yana, Tab Kibikit any matter, some side tablis. That dear man said, Tako Yaji sound there, Kaleka Yaji Road, that other Riwo Sangchod, the net have word of the Nia, so watch him with young Jamaya, Gerche. The net time around so Kalasa, Punkam 60 Trambans, the Jim, but Kamara Chance, that own, but the name also one year the soul, Gerche. Any time I said, but you tell Angaya. Any that legislature, any. One year, the name also predicts the Yoga number something. The Satam Jerry Yamson, never read up some she Jagua. Then there will be a tongue and any conyo, Yapit in Yonubuche. That Congress Sangchod the Zedwa. Sani Koran Rang and Nima Takwa somewhere as Riwo Sangchod. Nima Takwa. Then all our home said Jatama. Jatama Sumjase. Sumjase.
Sumya.
Sumjata Matapa somewhat the Yonubuche, Shapchi.
Kongi Shakbar.
Shapchi took around Rosonyo. Congress Sondo, Nima Takwa, the Yonubuche, took around Ror. Home Marasondo. Congatene, Shokaya Yen, Tenet, Shemo Tret, the Netson, Tama, Rone, and the Riwo Sangchod, and that one I shall to her. Then it to my colleague family, our home in Marilla, Sumjata, Samye or that's that then I get an effect is that I'm not so young. I'm a chimbo to Sokaya. Yamlet Jemmy. That's a chick. That's what you around of any young Kunara. And the Konoya woman, the Solana, the Nikokazatachi, the young man. The thing around of the Timato Maharata, not to be just a cheap any town, not so poor watching in. You must do a chico chatting or that teaching. Got Timo looks sooner with your pattern, Rachel. Timo looks sooner, you know. The nature I am Rachel at the time I took your Sangcho, but that did not matter. So what the ship were catching about Carvison? Did it? Some much everything. That's what you would do. Then a Tamba Sonta. Only Ninja last one. Sissina? They are. Long Janet Gertrude, what a Janet Gertrude, Harjan Jamacho. Chola. Mazanani, Karina Gertrude Mare, Lava. Jenny Woman and Dark, Samye and Dark. Go taking your watch, many. Didn't you know? Karina, go your watch, many. Karina Minako Karasatine, Dylan Juma, to watch him, Madame Jumares.
Buddha Shakyamuni was extremely skilled in methods based on compassion, endowed with compassion. So that's this practice. It's a skilled method based on compassion. Particularly within Vajrayana, we find, and it's talked about the profundity and ease of availability of profound, skillful means methods. Vast activities, easy to be engaged to, and can be accomplished without great difficulty. But when we talk about this, the being skilled in method and the ease of methods to amass tremendous amount of merit primarily comes down to one's mindset. If one has, and within Vajrayana, it's an extraordinary and unique mindset that allows for the extraordinary means to accomplish and perfect the accumulation. So here our method falls within this classification of the skillful means of Vajrayana. Skillful means of Vajrayana, that's a unique means for amassing a tremendous amount of merit. So song, all these various song practices and this general term of song fits within that category of skillful means to amass merit and so forth. And then our particular practice of Riwo Sangcho really focuses primarily, almost exclusively within Dzogchen. Kind of neglects everything else. It's just all about Dzogchen. Every word in there is Dzogchen, great perfection, great completion. All of it. So our song, skillful means, that's been around for an extremely long time, has been improving and becoming more and more refined over the centuries, over the generations. Up until now, we have the absolute, most refined practice of Riwo Sangcho, which is kind of has neglected, left out everything else. It's just solely focused on Dzogchen now. Every word is Dzogchen, connected to great perfection. Where we have within our text of Riwo Sangcho, really all four empowerments are connected, related to it, can be part of it. The section on the blazing, offering substances of blazing bliss, emptiness, the offering substances of blazing great emptiness, and so forth. That section, which we'll get to, connecting to the four empowerments, the three yogas. It's all Dzogchen. It's a profound Dzogchen practice. Drujum Rinpoche, the practice we'll be engaging in on Sunday, gathered together or arranged that the text. Arranged the text we'll be engaging in on Sunday. And also, it's said that Drujum Rinpoche performed Riwo Sangcho every single day without missing a day. One of his attendants, Toku Randro, told this to Rinpoche himself, saying that every single morning Drujum Rinpoche would wake up, wash his face, and then he and whatever attendants or whoever was around, they would all engage in the practice of Riwo Sangcho together. That Drujum Rinpoche every single day, at the minimum, would recite at least 300 recitations of Omahum while performing the practice of Riwo Sangcho. On his own mala would count at least 300 recitations without missing a single day. So great masters such as that held this practice in such esteem that they would perform it every single day. No need to mention for us. That being said, it does come down to our motivation. That is the primary thing. If the proper motivation is there, then the practice will be successful. Then the practice will be genuine. This practice of song now practiced all over Tibet, greatly renowned, all ordinary practitioners, monastic practitioners, everybody engages in the practice of song. Maybe in large part because it was able to, it's a practice that integrated the new Buddhist teachings with the ancient ways of Tibet, and based on that integration, it's become so popular. That's definitely one factor. So again, back to this the paramount necessity of having the proper mindset, namely having the engaging the practice through the elements of the three excellences. With the three excellences and engaging the practice with both aspects of emptiness and compassion, then if one does that, whatever it is one's doing, it's an authentic Mahayana practice, a genuine practice of the great vehicle. This discussion about this song within, does it fit within the scriptural class of scriptural teachings, or fit within the teachings of realization? It's kind of a pointless discussion. If it has these aspects, if the mindset and motivation are proper, then of course it's a genuine Mahayana practice. That being said, you can talk all you want about Uma, Madhyamaka, valid cognition, pramana. But if you're lacking proper good motivation, the proper mindset, then whatever it is one engages in will not become a practice on the path of the Mahayana.
다다 쌍스님 쌍마기 공으로 지도가 된다고 신상야 드려도
쌍마
쌍마지야
쌍스는 그 쌍마기
된다고 그 공농대 쌍인 get더니 유 쌍마기 유 탐지나는 민도 미미기 유 나나야 하학 하람더니 얘기면도 근데 요 말에서 드리지 라우냐들도 라우야 된서 마기니 요새는 통도 사만원이 쌍면 통도 니마 통도 거저 음식도 찍기는 내가 가까이서 됐어 내 통도 그런 통도로 맞지 유탐지나 람양 감세는 희열도 사만원 쌍이 제발 지원이도 내가 가르쳐서는 쌍양세요 찍기는 거저 이게 더 자위는 가시 그때 쌍세와 쌍양세 리정 찍기는 다 철가 두면은 그러면 람 감세도 이 시지 매였더니 가서 가서 아니 다 가다 매였어 롱도 또 되는 가서 가서 추유 주생이다 두면하고 길게 되잖아 람 감세 내 거기서 찍어라 하면서
This aspect of sang being a cleansing practice. And sang literally is cleansing, to be cleansed, purified.
Definitions.
Huh?
Definition gonna deal.
Yeah, that's the definition of the word, literal definition of the word itself, to cleanse. So there are many these days that still say that this aspect of it being for cleansing is inauthentic and can't be found in any of the tantras. You look through all the tantras of the new schools, it's definitely not there, and even in the tantras of the ancient tradition, the Nyingmapas, you can't find it. So there's these people that say this. Rinpoche says his eyes must be quite different because he sees it in every single tantra. Every single sadhana has refers to this cleansing aspect. In particular, every sadhana you have, and in the tantras we have Ramyam Kam. This aspect of cleansing through Ramyam Kam. And so sang, again, literally means to cleanse, to purify. You take one sadhana, you'll find it 5 or 6 times, this aspect of cleansing, purification. In particular, through the recitation of the sacred syllables of Ramyam Kam. Ram cleansing through, or Ram burning through fires of primordial wisdom. Yam scattering through the power of wind, and Kam cleansing through the power of water. So these all relate to sang, and the aspect of sang as being a cleansing practice. But apparently they weren't able to see that. They didn't find that.
지키는 천하적으로 저바디 자고요 말때 이거 저바디 장면 넣었더니 대해서가 되게 다리 주서 됐어. 이제 해지스 마스. 잡게 이제 주나 가서 대체 뭐죠?
So we'll stop our morning session there for now. I recognize that most of you probably aren't these people holding such views, but they are out there. So because of that, I thought that this morning we would extensively discuss this and debate those individuals. And we'll continue with the discussion of our practice. So we'll stop there for now. If there are any questions. Probably not.
A question. I didn't really understand with the 5 protectors that each person has. I didn't really understand the difference between the paternal uncle and the father, because wouldn't that be the same ancestors?
교랑이디 아장데 아빠기 딜랍서 안츠 아장생이더라와. 아장생고 데스 카르 저는 단들이 이제 아장생도 좀 베트남 가래 안갈 딜랍서. 이 말에
가래.
베트남 안갈은 안츠 아쿠세르와.
Oh, is it maternal then?
Yeah.
아장생 아마기 좋네. 아마기 빈게
Then tiwa chikbare. Then kaachene amedladang shanghai niga. Yuba chikbare
여러 왔네. 아마도 상고 여러 왔어. 아마다 아장 여러 왔어. 다 얘들은 여러 왔어.
한 얘들은 뭐.
다 얘들은 여러 왔어. 많이 대행이.
Close relation.
Yeah, but okay. So sorry, I screwed it up before. It's not your paternal uncle; it's your maternal uncle. Aku is your paternal uncle. Ashang's your maternal uncle. So that's what Melvin said, and I said, but the question remains, right? Rinpoche says that it's the closeness of the relationship that is the differing factor there.
맨날 다 마다 많이 줘요. 다 마다니 다 말하는 거 다니게 좀 마다. 샹고스는 다 많이 줘거든요. 다 많이 줘거든요. 루마한테 줬더니 줘로 잡은 거야.
God's protector, we can say protectors. Here you can say protectors. Protectors related to the father. Protectors related to the mother. Then protectors related to the
Mother's family?
Yeah, that Shangla.
Mother's uncle. Maternal uncle.
Maternal uncle like that. But just this is a rough classification. Very kind of This.
What Rinpoche said was like that which relates directly to the mother, to your mother, and then that which relates to the side of the mother, the ancestry of the mother is more what is the maternal mother protector deity.
그래 추는세 답변에 자 밑에 서다고 이나 딱
자밀레도
자미 고쪽에 이나 딱 맞추고 강반만 야를 때는다고 고쪽 빼는 이게 제가 무럽이 그런도 다 갖고 추어지는 데는 들으시지 고쪽 추는세네 야 맞는 아니라 추는세도
양이라 나도
맞는 추는세도 답대로 강한데 다 고쪽 집 내가 뭐지 추어되고요 주바고기 다티 가서 주바기 주바다고 답변 하는 거라도 플라스틱도 찍어서 지금 요리 되는지 얘네 아까 늦어 담지 어디다 그거 쉬어요 말에 나는 그 밑에서 삼모레스 내가 너무 그거 잡힐 때는 싫어요 말에 산지 손으로 가야 말해 이 코너서 나를 밑에서 그러면서 그냥 아버지래서
나를 대가를 샤샤래서
맞아 대가는 야야다 코난 속에 대양 딱 맞아 건강한 야야다 베네트네 딱 달라생에서 들어도 달라생이 그 로지노 캐차고요 가게는 달라데 고마 공화들을 말 믿어 따뜻해 봐 제용을 생겨도
공안에 끼어있어.
공화네
Dry like
내가
that.
당국 간에 존에서는 공화에 존에 생겨도
로직 캔서 왜요?
로직해서 뭐 사실 나는 믿어서 그래 나는 믿어서 따와서 내가 지금 내가랑 같이 시합을 해 근데 맞아 은이 खेले는 때 말이다요 뒤 너는 시합할 때 맞아 내가 खेले 가서 따와 말해 이 권한서 나라고 믿어서 나서 지 고조다 대신에 야야를 전염으로 은혜 때문에 나라 공약 휴대 디나들도 남자한테는 시에도 막 빼야고도 나라한테 공도 그 마상에서도 마상에서 딱 나서 아미 뭐말에 그 나라 뭐말에 딱 땅고 중에 산자 동해 거래도 대야고도 그러니까 이 가르쳐
마상 세요. Tibet, ancient people of Tibet were said to be.
장에 너 공원에 줘서 공원에 가야면도 얘네들 범퍼 로지는 들에 막 모여래 그것도 얘는 참사 범퍼 로지서 행기부터가 잠들는데 당부 가서 공화지 종서로 공화 첨부시 중앙에서 중앙한테 막 공화 첨부시 중앙에서
전부 링 뭔가쯤.
공화 첨부시 중앙에서 이제는 당부 공화 첨부시 중앙에서도 직진이 됐다가 그것을 얘기해도 상하서 잠들는 됐지 그래봐 다 공화 되게 되는 넘바에서 염소 중 되니 깜포에서는 잘다 감사들이 중 얘네 다 공화를 알을 때는 생기한테서 중앙에서 뭐 다 뒤편 그 상을 사 도도도가 될래야 가서 가시지 저봐 얘나 얘네 얘기해도 그래서 그래서 일단 가서 데려오나 타기도 데려 공에 내가 이미 째게 다 데려 때는 켈레마한테 가야 말했어.
Relates to the like ancient ideas. Back to this ancient ideas of connecting to your ancestry. That's what that deity maybe particularly connects to, like a general, more distant ancestry in the Chinese tradition. And there's a Tibetan term for it, the Tsun, which is a sacred support on your shrine or something, a sacred support that occupies a particular place in your home that you make offers to, that is the support of the representation of your ancestors, on and on, that's revered as some type of a deity.
Protector.
Protector. Spirit protector.
Chinese do that, Japanese do this, Shintoism, right?
Mm-hmm. So in Tibetan we call that the Tsun.
Tsun.
Tsun. Which
Rinpoche has sadhana on this.
Yeah.
Tsun.
So really that type of practice comes from just this ancient way of thinking. It's not something propounded in any Buddhist doctrine put forth in the Buddhist tradition. But likewise with these other elements we're talking about relating to song, it was here when the Buddha Dharma came and was just left in that way and integrated into the Buddhist teachings. But it's not something propounded and explained in the Buddhist doctrines themselves and put forth as something to be accepted and posited. It's just left there as it is.
건조 가야겠지. 아마 여러 건조 가야겠지.
다 가다 버그 유용 가르세 인간의 사비 받아 찾아놓고 들어가지 야도 어때요? 그 상하지 야도 그 미세 탑티와 나장 그러는 거지. 아니 가르세요. 더미게 따와. 아니 다 알아서 그 아니 샹용구 공부 아니 대서 탐지 참아 그 버그랑 연결하고 밑에 투문구지 따와라고 해서 간간히 집야지 되게 털었더니 거기서다 나그 투문만이 박 파티에 받아 바꿨니 근데 직계는 알아서 그 아니 대값이다 망치가 좀 공부를 봐 자본 고소가서다 걸미 위험하고 하나 너무 좀 못하게 좀 공부를 직계는 걸어서 참아야지 얘네 라양 봐 그랬더니 뜬채
Really, it's like Guru Rinpoche was the master of skillful means that were used to introduce the extraordinary teachings in view of the Buddhist doctrines into the existent and universally accepted perspectives and views of the people that were already there at the time. So to kind of appease them. And that's this idea of Tsun. This Tsun, you know, making, having this God, protector being of your ancestors. It's just been left there to appease the universally accepted ideations and views of the people when the teachings were introduced there. Oh, a bunch of stuff about eggs. It's something about the bun.
Ancient bond.
Huh?
Ancient bond.
I thought it was.
They're talking about the origin of university.
Yes. So so back to the primordial Bunpo. Their explanation on how the universe came about. They say the world was born from an egg, and that the various different features of
even the enemy gods.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They say, okay. So primordial Bun said the God related to your enemies was born of an egg. Was originally born from an egg. Where, however, in the Namchak tradition, the Namchak.
This is not what we Buddhists accept, actually.
Yeah, and that's not what the Buddhists accept. In the Namchak, there's a discussion on the God relating to the enemies, where it's said to have come from the original Tibetan clan of the Masang.
Yeah, these ancient Tibetan ancestors who invented weapons.
Oh yes,
those are Masangs.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, when we say enemy god or war god, so we're venerating them.
Yeah. That ancient clan.
That Rinpoche says that looks reasonable, but it's born out of
An
egg.
egg, we can't make sense of that.
마상생에도 기타가 벽을 놓지는 드랙 드랍스 같은데 드랙이라고 드랍스라고 그래. 근데 좀 말해. 미 당고들로. 미 당고래도 미 당고 먹어. 근데 딱 뺏겨서 양 프랑스 뺏겨서 꽉짱해. 이야고도 그래 꽉짱고 근데 뺏겨서 옵션 뭐 진짜 저 꽉짱다 그래서 쟁이 걸 되지로. 그래서 내가 가서 내가 가서 그 밤에 찍어러 왔다. 그 나라다 가서 뭐니 가라래다.
So the Masang were the first peoples. It's said they came about. They arrived during the time of Dre, the malicious spirits, but they weren't themselves Dre, malicious spirits. They were humans. They were the first humans. Being the first humans, they were wild
kind
people.
of human in the second era. Yeah, kind of.
The first humans of that,
Ancestors of Tibet.
Yeah, the ancestors of Tibet, who were like wild humans. The same word Tibetans use for like a yeti. Is what we're describing them. Wild, beastly humans that, so they were wild, like fighters, and, but they were also very clever, quite smart, skilled in making their weapons and engaging in warfare. So when we talk about the protectors related to enemies, Ladra really is describing that type of being, Masang beings. So the Bun say the world came out of an egg, and the various different elements of the egg were like the initial sources of the different aspects of the universe as we see today. The surrounding like fluid is the oceans. The embryonic fluid led to sentient beings coming about, and some other stuff.
So anyway, these things, these stories, kind of, which I say strange for the Westerners, they can be found in many song texts. So it's not that it's a Buddhist view or Buddhist philosophy. We're accepting their reason they explained before. We just left like that to appease these people at that time. Like, for example, Guru Rinpoche left like that because at that time everyone was Bompo, Bompo. Even the king, minister, queens of, no, not the king, but queen, ministers, and many subjects were Bompo. They have this a strong impression from Bompo. So Guru Rinpoche just left like that and just embraced with his Buddhist views or Mahayana views, That's how he modified. So just we learn everything in that is not that we accept it.
마찬가지로 다 비밀 매니저 사스닝 사례. 그래가 동바에서 민다고 매비게 시도 마찬가지 야를 카타스 지 민도 보이 봐 동바에서 지 미도 만라바데 부수서 들려서로. 아소스. 아, 뭐지? 부수서 동바에서 로마로 봐. 근데 방금에서 로마로 봤는데 나보고.
Neanderthal Zingi.
와.
Maybe that's so Masa in this clan is descended from and connected to monkeys. They probably look kind of like monkeys, hair on the face. And I said maybe they were the Neanderthals.
That's all.